Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Mr. Rahmat Setiawan is a lecturer in Qualitative Research course. I'm Felicia Putri from English Language Education Department 2020. Okay, I will present the result of my proposal entitled The Correlation Between Teaching Style and Students' Motivation in EF Learning. Here I will present the important points, namely the introduction, the relevance of the study, and the research method. English lessons are often considered difficult by students and will be easy with the teaching style and motivation provided by the teacher. Students need to be stimulated to develop self-motivation to carry out learning activities continuously. In learning activities, motivation is the overall driving force in students that can lead to learning activities that ensure the continuity of learning activities so that the desired goals can be achieved. The teaching style of the teacher has a major impact on student motivation and achievement in a subject. Some teachers fail to develop a learning atmosphere which can lead to students' motivation, especially in English where the students and teachers are both not native English speakers. Teaching style plays an important role in bringing up the student motivation level. The problem that is often faced by the teacher is that in the learning process, students are often busy, sleepy, and do not pay attention to the lesson delivered. This can be caused by several factors, namely most teachers only teach or transfer their knowledge. The quality of teacher is still in teaching. The teacher's teaching style is monotonous and only teachers so that students feel boring during learning and not eager to learn. Students often experience obstacles and difficulties in the learning process and obstacles in understanding and capturing lessons. The study aims to explore the teaching style of teaching teachers that can affect students' motivation towards AF learning. Teaching and learning activities do not only live with the teachers, but students also interfere in the teaching and learning process. Teachers will often provide exercise in the context of understanding the material will produce better students when compared to teachers who only explain and do not provide continuous follow-up. Teachers need to prepare students as well as possible to be ready to accept and follow the learning process to achieve the learning objectives that have been set. The research question in this proposal are: is there any significant correlation between the teaching style of the teacher and student motivation in EF learning? And then the purpose of the study is to know the correlation between the teaching style of the teacher and students' motivation in EF learning. The benefits of this research are: for the teacher. Teacher will know the concept of teaching style as one factor that can affect the student's success or failure in their learning. And then for the student, when they know about their teaching style, it will help them realize to improve their ability effectively. They can cope with their weakness effectively and be motivated in learning by taking consideration by teaching style as one of the factors affecting their motivation. And last, the researchers. This is the research will give many benefits, especially to improve researchers' knowledge about teaching style and testing the motivation. The knowledge about teaching style and motivation will be applied related to the researchers as the candidate of the teacher who contribute to a better education. And then the scope of the research are: the research focus on identifying teachers' teaching style, and the limitation of this research are: student motivation is limited by intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Theoretical framework in this proposal are: number one, definition of teaching style. Teaching style are combined based on the extent to which the teacher and student assume responsibility for what happens in the lesson. This is best seen as a quality that plays an important role in some aspect of teaching. And then Gracia teaching style classification. There are 5 classification. Number one, expert style. Number two, formal authority style. This style is a teacher-centered methodology. And next, number three, role model style, a teacher-oriented style in which teachers display skill. And then facilitator style. this student-centered approach, and the last, delegator style, a student-centered style in which the teacher gives control. And next, factor associated with selecting teaching style. There are some factor. Number one, factor related to student. The next factor related to curriculum, and then factor related to methods of teaching, and next factor related to environment. And next, definition of motivation. Motivation refers to the reason that underlie behavior. Motivation is a complex part of psychology and human behavior that affects how individuals choose to invest their time, how much energy they expend in any given task, how they think and feel about the task, and how long they style the task. Motivation is the key to success the teaching and learning process. And next, types of motivation. There are two types. Number one, intrinsic motivation is processed by people who have a fixed interest in doing something and helping to set the course. And next, number two, extrinsic motivation is if the person performs his activity to earn some punishment outside the activity itself. And next, the importance of motivation in EFL learning. Learning motivation of students in education is important. A learner learns best when he or she recognizes a need and develops a desire to learn. This can be done by providing motivation. If you don't have a good motivation, a learner learn very hard because he sees no need to learn. And next, the rules of motivation in the teaching and learning process. Number one, to determine things that can be used to empower the learning process. And number two, to clarify the learning purpose which is to be achieved. And the last, to determine the learning perseverance. And next, the characteristics of motivated student. Number one, positive task orientation, and next, ego involvement, and next, need for achievement, and next, high aspiration, and next, goal orientation, and next, perseverance, and the last, tolerance of ambiguity. And the last, English as a foreign language learners. In addition, according Wilkins, teaching English as a foreign language is one where the target language is not the mother tongue of any group within the country where it is studied. The purpose of teaching and learning foreign language is to motivate students to be able to use English both orally and in writing. That is, students who study English as a foreign language have less opportunity to use their English in real life situation. So next, previous study in this research. Number one, according to Rizal and Hassan 2015, through the journal entitled The Effect of Learning Style and Motivation of Indonesia Student English Achievement. The problem of the research is about the interaction between motivation and learning style on student English achievement in Bandar Lampung. This research is a non-experimental study with a variant analysis study. The result of the analysis show that there is no significant interaction between motivation and learning style on student English achievement. And next, according to Zimmermanova 2018, from the journal entitled The Effect of Learning Style on Academic Achievement in Different Forms of Teaching, state that an increased interest in learning style as one of the key factors influence learning generally. The research confined sample split into control and experimental groups. The results indicate that the learning style and form of teaching have effect on academic achievement. And next, Mulyati 2017. In his research entitled Teaching Style and Student Interest in Learning English at 11th grade of SMK Negeri 1 Tanjungan in the academic year 2016 or 2017, states that student interest in learning English is higher when the teacher using kinesthetic teaching style. This research is mixed method research. The result of the research showed the English teaching applied three types of teaching style. They are visual style, auditory style, and kinesthetic style. And next, Sheikh and Mahmoud 2014 through the journal entitled Effect of Different Teaching Style on Student Motivation Towards English Language Learning at Secondary Level, state that the demonstrated effect on teachers' teaching style on student motivation, such as a clear understanding among teachers, can be of use motivate students. The result of effort that the most prevalent style among English language learners were the educator, which is student-centered. The next two reference styles were expert and role model, which are teacher style. And the last, according to 2021, through the journal entitled The Role of Teacher in Motivating Student Tolerance, that the teacher ability to develop student competence, interest in subject of and perception of self all important factors that influence student motivation to learn. So approach of the study are the study employ the qualitative research method with the ethnography approach. The qualitative method was chosen because the study aims at providing an insight into describing the teaching style of the subject under study. So the study examined human behavior and natural setting from a cultural perspective. And next, data in this research is in the study, the data in the form of writing in the form a list of student names in class 11, a list of class 11 student, a list of names of teacher class 11, and statement text from interview. And source of the data in the study are class 11 teacher, class 11 student on the SMA Wahid Hashim Taman, which was located in Ngelom Street, Sidoarjo, District Taman, Province East Java. And next, data collection technique. There are three techniques. Number one, interview. According to Sugiono 2015, there are three types of interview, namely interview structure, semi-structured, and structured interview. In the study, the researchers used a semi-structured interview method, namely interview conducted more freely when compared to structured interview. The purpose of this type of interview is to find a more open problem where the interview is asked opinion and ideas. And next, documentation. Documents are record of even the half-page document can be in the form of writing, picture, or monumental work of someone. So the document of this research is oral data in the form of student assessment of EF learning and other writing data related to research. The document will later be analyzed to understand whether there is a relationship between the teacher's teaching style and student motivation EF learning in class 11. And the last, observation. According to Daryanto, observation is a technique that this is done by making careful observation and recording carefully systematic. There are three kinds of observation, namely a participant observation, systematic observation, experimental observation. The form of observation in study is participant observation, where researchers in the study play an active role in our learning in the classroom. This observation is used to obtain two necessary data as a basis for conducting further research, and with observation, this will obtain data regarding all activities or student behavior in learning. Data analysis. are in this proposal use thematic development. There are six steps. Number one, familiarization. This is a step to obtain data from class 11 students in the way of teaching EF learning to teachers. And next, number two, generating initial codes. Here are the steps to calculate the data. In this case, it is the researcher who would determine which data in the transcript of his interview needs to be encoded. For researchers who are new to coding, it will most likely provide all the data in the transcript. The coder can be created but semantically, meaning it describes directly what appears to be from of the data. Researchers write down the code according to what appears on the surface. This is usually done by researchers by writing down codes according to the words used by participants. This term describes something important that is in the data related to formatting of research problem. The data is the result of a class 11 interview on how to teach teachers on EF learning. And next, searching for terms. This term describes something important that is in data related to the formatting of research problem. Is the researcher who determines what term will appear according to the data. He has in the stages all I did was revise all the code and groups that had already been formed. For example, in my research there is a group that needs student motivation. And next, reviewing themes. At this stage, the researcher divides them, combines them, discard them, or creates a new, more useful and accurate one against the class 11 interview and student motivation. And next, defining and naming themes. Researchers have a list of last time in this stage to name and define each of them. Defining of themes is from writing exactly what we mean with its theme and figuring out how it helps us understand the data. Naming a theme involves creating a concise and easy to understand name for its theme. And the last, producing the report. The final step is for the researcher to combine all that is found and report the finding. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.